Mm-hmm.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Blackout Tooth Podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we're live on a Saturday ready to do some feedback. Yay, feedback. Oh, so glad that y'all are into this as much as we're into this.
Yay!
Feedback is for the people who write into the show, leave voicemails, emails, leave comments on our website, vote in the polls, leave comments on Spotify. We're going to read them. We're going to get to them all.
Mhm.
We thank you for taking the time out to do that because
Yes.
that's what makes the show go round. Okay. Wouldn't be no show on feedback if we didn't have no feedback.
Ain't that the truth?
Okay. We know how it is out here in this world. It's not like people care, about a lot of shows. People putting these shows out here. These shows are just like chickens. Okay.
Chickens are dying every day, people, at churches, Popeyes, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Really.
Podcast dying every day, B.
Mm-hmm. But we out here doing our show and trying to get y'all to get into it. So without further ado, let's start with the people that gave money. You can give money to the show, and just when you donate to the show, you don't get anything. Okay. So like this isn't like a premium subscription. This isn't like becoming a just a tip member on Spotify where you get a free show or not a free show, but you get a show that you pay for every week. If you're premium on our website, you get 2 to 3 shows every week at minimum, bonus shows. This is just for people that are just happy we're here. They want to put something on it. Maybe you listen to us every day on your way to work or whatever, and you're like, I don't got time for your premium shows, or maybe I can't figure out how to make it work. But what I can figure out is giving y'all a few dollars every month or one time or whatever you want to do. And we'd like to give you a shout out for that. New day, new money. Let's talk about the people that gave us that salary. Latricia C, thank you very much. Unbridled Love, Dr. Professor Bambi, Jason F, our girl Falcons Diva, Kevin W, Derek LW, no relation, Ken M, Grace N, Linwood C, Zach from the Living Corporate Podcast, Lawrence C, Tracy J, Cedric W, Dot Street J, Preston, who is from the Slang of Ages podcast. We were just guests on his show where we talked about our top 5 albums of all time, me and Karen. Check it out if you want to hear us talk about some of our favorite music. If you're a music head, I think you might, we don't always talk about music on this show, so maybe you'll enjoy that. And lastly, Sylvester VB, thank you very much, everybody took time out to donate this week. It was very nice of you, very kind of you. The money will all go into the church coffers to get us a new air conditioner. All right, let's talk about 5-star reviews. We got 3 of them.
Yay!
The first one, I don't remember if we read it on the show because sometimes these are a couple days behind.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from Day Jizzle, aka Deja DJ New Blurred. Supporting our own smiley face. Been listening for a few months now on Podbean. Podbean, y'all.
Come on through, Pop.
Okay, y'all be out here.
Yeah, y'all do.
Y'all just be out here on the dark web, finding us on the message boards where you can buy crystal meth and some.
Y'all be finding us everywhere. They was like, when we say everywhere, we mean everywhere.
Crystal meth and hashish. Y'all just go find us and then say, I'm gonna download the podcast.
Thank you.
And we thank you because them downloads count too.
Yeah, they do.
I wanted to show more love by serving them up a whopping 5-star review. Would really give them 10 stars, but Apple capping. One of the best Black-owned podcasts I listen to. Love you guys. You keep me sane in these very trying times. You deserve your vacation, so rest up however long you need. I'll be here when you get back. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Q Hayward says, if you know karate, you're going to hire him. From Euro Q. That is what that man said.
Yes, he did.
A man that comes attack you and you know Kung Fu, you're going to hi-ya him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go hi-ya him.
The best. Love the show from Son of Shaft. Love the show. Glad for your success. That's it. Thank you. And we're glad for it as well.
We are.
And we're mostly glad for your 5-star review. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Let's do the comments. Comments on the website, theblackouttips.com. That's where you go. Leave comments. You can also leave comments in Spotify when we ask a Q&A. It's the oppression for me. We got 6 comments on this.
Ooh, y'all had something to say.
Appia from Germany says, I like to tell you what watermelon means for me.
Okay.
Keep in mind, she's a white woman from Germany. When I was a child, we lived in communist Poland and didn't have much choice with our food. We had almost only fruit that grew in cold climate. In summer, we sometimes could buy watermelons from Bulgaria. It was something special. You told your family come over, and we have great watermelon. It's still in my parents to do just that. A summer exclusive treat. The link between black people and watermelon was, of course, non-existent for me. We knew no black people at all. Exactly. Like, how could y'all even have that stereotype? As we could travel other places, no passport. We couldn't travel, I guess. No other places, no passport, no visa, no money, no one spoke English. No, now as a grown-up, I learned that racism is linked to watermelons. Racism tries to make fun things bad again.
Right. It's things that people love and enjoy for no reason. That's why I say racism is irrational and illogical.
It's a constant vigilant effort to not let racism ruin shit, because there's a fine line that I think black people are always having to exist under, especially in America, but probably everywhere, of this, like, I don't want to fall into doing something specifically because I'm black and it's not something I'm enjoying or something I really want to do.
Right.
So you have that line, and you have to experiment to find where that line is for you. But then there's this thing of pushing back against stereotypes and stuff that sometimes people do, and this started as a survival mechanism, right? Like, I don't want to do this stereotypically black thing because it will signify me as black, and blackness is under attack and in danger and all this stuff, which is its own thing, and it makes total sense. But then there's this other level where you push back so hard that you then become kind of like anti-black. You're against what black people are into. So it's like, for a brief example, is if someone were to say, I don't listen to all that rap music like the rest of you niggas, and it's like, oh, that's you now. You're basically being racist as a black person,
yes,
to try to prove that you're different, you're not like them. So it's a fine line. And then with watermelon and stuff like that, people a lot of times in America, when they successfully push a stereotype onto a group, it makes that group feel like they should be quote unquote better than that stereotype, even though I remember the day I got completely over all this shit was I was living on a nice side of town for the first time, and I drove by a Bojangles, and the line was full of white people.
It was jumping,
and it was around the building.
Yes, it was. Had traffic stopped all the way up to the stoplight.
And I just remember thinking, I will never let anything involving this shit make me feel ashamed. Again, like, white people love chicken because everyone loves fried chicken.
Right.
Like, what the fuck? Why is that stuck to us? Anyway, Brooklyn Shoebase says watermelon equals summer and summer fun for me. It wasn't until I got to college that I heard we should not eat in front of white folks, because I didn't grow up around the white gays. Yeah, that was another thing. I didn't grow up with that either. So, like, my neighborhood was all black. My classes at school, like 3 or 4 of them, like my main classes would be white because I was in AP classes, but my school was black and my neighborhood was black. So, and I had to return to the neighborhood. So I don't know, certain things, like if there was ever a joke made about fried chicken and watermelon, it was a black person making a joke to other black people around me.
Yes.
I used to love when we get fresh watermelon with the school lunches. That was a treat. I neither like nor dislike Drake, but I have a handful of his songs on my playlist. I think the last song they said it wasn't whack was his mixtape, If You're Reading This It's Already Too Late, which is the only album of his I listen to from front to back, and I love it. Yeah, Drake's getting to be like a lot of elder statesmen in hip hop. I would be willing to bet that everyone has a different favorite Drake album.
Yes.
Like, he's put out enough at this point that there's probably no consensus
on what's the favorite.
Yeah. I've become much more accepting of new music. I just shrug and say, no, it's not. Hey, it's not for me. I'm turning 50 in September, so I'm trying not to waste my time and energy hating on things that affect my life. Or that don't affect my life.
Agreed.
I think older generations like this shit on the music of younger generations because of subconscious bitterness about no longer being the dominant demographic.
I agree.
Yeah, I think also like stuff changes and there's some stylistic changes in this new generation where it just wasn't the style when we were coming up. Our shit music was just a different type of shit music.
Yes.
And you can play something that was considered kind of a shit song from back then, and we like it because we just remember being young. Whereas now it becomes like this generation, all they do is mumble and da da da. I remember my dad talking about my music, and like all they saying is this, and this, and I'm sure his folks talked about his music. So, I am Sasha Pierce says, great episode, Rod and Karen. Keep doing your thing and speaking this truth about how to actually fight in politics. I truly believe that more voices like yours will gain traction as folks wake up and get serious. I really do see that happening.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that as people realize that this is not a joke, this is not a game. You know, people who thought they were safe are realizing, oh shit, I'm not safe no more. And it's actually causing people to actually fight.
Yeah, I see that more and more online. There are people kind of fighting back against the negativity, the constant disenthusiasm, and because of the vast seriousness of the moment, people are starting to reach out for context, to put things in context. And the main thing I'm noticing is the negative people, because I don't know if it's just like Russian bots are off the sites now or what, but they're just less prone to truly attacking groups. Like maybe a one-off individual, or maybe like one or two, maybe like a troll will get through, but just the general like piling on of anybody who would say something enthusiastic about voting, or say something about like, listen, we need to vote. This is a good thing to get ourselves out of here. It's going to take some work. You just see a lot less pile-ons, and I would feel like over the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of that pile-on was kind of, in addition to artificial, it was also just very like a lot of momentum was pouring into that, and so it's not catching as much momentum online. And also like a lot of those people that were on that shit kind of went off and just started over, rebranded,
doing their own thing.
They not doing politics no more.
Nope,
They're not, you know,
stepped out of the arena, and I think that excuse me, for a lot of people, they're just tired, and for a lot of people, they're like me and you, they're mad and they're angry, and a lot of people are fed up. And they remember what happened. And so for them, when people come at them with them negativity, they go, no, nigga, what we're not going to do is the same bullshit we did before. And you need to shut the fuck up. And I think enough people have gotten to that point, and they're more vocal. When before they were not as vocal. They were like, you know, I don't want to say difference of opinion. Well, yeah, for a lot of them, it was a difference of opinion. I'm just going to let you be. But now they're going to be like, no, your aggressiveness, your stupidity, you're saying these things that are not true. You coming out here with all these things that is causing us to lose. A lot of people are like, look, I'm tired of losing. I want to win. And when I come at you and I'm like, well, then what's your solution? You come at me with everything but voting. Well, then we don't have anything to talk about. And I think a lot of people are actually fed up with it. More people than before. And I think more people are more vocal about it. And I do agree with you with the bots. I don't think the bots are as aggressive as they used to be. And I think a lot of people have gotten a backbone now. And they're like, what we not going to do is complain all the goddamn time. And we need to give people credit for what they do.
Yeah. Also, the thing you have to understand, social media is peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, essentially it's, you know, it's Mean Girls, it's high schools, all that stuff. And as a person that's been like, is no way to say it without sounding a bit arrogant, but as a person that's been smarter than the average person my whole life, basically, there's this thing I've noticed that uninformed people and dumb people do, lazy people do. People do this all the time. They say shit like it's both sides, or I just think everybody need to do this, or isn't it all bullshit? And all that it really is, I didn't read anything. I'm not looking anything up. I don't know anything. And I just feel like saying I'm above it and acting like I don't care makes me feel like the smart person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And when that is taken to the hyperbolic extent that it's taken to online, you end up with people, making these arguments and defenses of shit that's indefensible in my opinion. And that's kind of how things have been going the last few years. And because people let shit get so bad, they've been learning. And I don't mean they've been learning because they've been reading up. They've been learning about the consequences of their actions. And they've been like, you can do this. Oh, you can't do that. How many people know you need a 60-seat majority to pass something in the Senate now? A lot of people didn't know that shit, even under Obama, because they just didn't give a fuck. They're like, we have a black president. He's a Democrat. I don't know why he just can't get shit done. And nobody was taking the time to explain anything. I voted for hope and change. And that's all they knew was they saw a fucking sign and hope and change. And to them, that was all. That's what I voted for. There's now, because shit got so bad, and whenever they say some bullshit, people are challenging it. Now they learning stuff. Like, oh, you need this many people to do this? Okay. Oh, so you don't just get to have a Supreme Court justice whenever you want. They don't just pick one. So what's a filibuster?
Right.
So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people go that. And then the last thing I'll say is everybody's scared.
Yeah, I agree.
So when you scared, you just take a lot less shit. Obama is going to go down as probably the best president ever, not just of our lifetime, but in the history of America. And the reason he's going to go down, and I wouldn't have necessarily said, I thought he was the best, but I wouldn't have said he was going to go down that way probably even 4 years ago. No, even 6 years ago. But as soon as they said Trump would follow him, I said, if you were a person that was hypercritical of Obama and you thought, even though he did all this great shit, he didn't get you universal health care. He didn't get you, there were still drone strikes. He didn't close Gitmo. They followed him with the most trash ass president we've ever had, with the least qualified motherfucker we've ever had. And he erased and undid a lot of the stuff that Obama did, or he tried to strip as much power out of those things and much effectiveness out of those things as he could. And so what you ended up with is people that 4 years later are wistful for Obama. 6 years later would damn near suck his dick to get him to come back. And no matter how Twitter treats it or social media treats it, real life people are like, no, that dude is the dude that was running the shit and it was better. And a lot of his excellence is the reason that we got fucked over, is because a lot of people thought, well, let the black guy handle it. Like, we're just not going to do our part as voters. We're not going to do our part as informed citizens. You got this right, because you're competent, you're excellent, you know how to, we don't have to worry about no scandals coming out. We don't worry about you fucking making shit up and lying every week. We don't have to worry about you fucking trying to destroy the economy on a whim and shit like that. And that was enough for people to go, we'll just leave it in his hands, even though we won't give him any help. And so I think that's why we're here now, is that people are scared in a way they weren't scared when it was Obama, and they're still scared under Biden, because shit is getting bad. Shit has been bad. Trump did a lot of damage, and you can't look to your normal sources of normalcy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The court is not going to necessarily come through and fix this. Your politicians that are so fucking divided and obstinate aren't necessarily going to come and fix this. So I think that's where you're getting a lot of this from.
Yeah, and also I seen somebody in the chat was talking about civics in high school. I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm gonna tell you this, as somebody who went through the school system down south, school is very boring. I know a lot of y'all have children and people don't want to believe it, but school is fucking boring. And not only is it boring, school is memorization. So most people just memorize. They didn't actually learn. They didn't actually retain. They just memorize to pass the test, to move on, to go to the next thing. So then when they become adults and you're asking them to remember shit that they were supposed to learn, most people forgot, because a lot of people think once you graduate from high school, the motherfucking learning is over. Or once you graduate from college, motherfucking learning is over. And so you have a lot of people that just was just pushed through the school systems, and they didn't retain and they didn't learn, and like I said, it was all regurgitation. It wasn't actually learning. And so as somebody who thought school was so fucking boring, school, because I hated school, not gonna lie. As somebody who went through it and just did not find any entertainment or any fun time in school, you can't. It's, how can I say it? It's sad, but it's unrealistic to expect the populace as a whole to actually retain a lot of this shit. Yes, they should have learned it. Yes, they should know. Yes, it was probably taught to most people, but different school systems actually teach different things. Yeah, there are some basic shit, but there are school systems they just don't teach certain shit, or it's taught in a way that the students do not memorize.
Yeah, and honestly, there's a lot of ways to keep learning. I listen to podcasts, I read books, actually reading articles. There's so much news that's just free and readily available. People don't even read fucking the whole tweet, right now, and a lot of this is on us. So I think a lot of people let themselves down, and then blame like the then blame like the government and blame like politicians and blame. And this is like, a lot of this knowledge is readily available. It's just, do you want to fucking get out there and learn?
Yes, and as somebody who, as an adult, had to challenge myself to actually start learning and actually realize that learning can actually be fun. Like literally can be fun, particularly when you actually are reading about shit that you want to know about versus something is forced upon you and you have to memorize it, and you're like, I don't give a fuck about none of this shit y'all talking about. Okay, I guess. Then when I became an adult, I was like, oh, okay, let me go learn these things. But it's up to the individual person to do those things. And if they don't want to do it, it's sad. It's nothing you can do to force them to do it. And a lot of people, like Roger said, they learned because the situation got so dire that they had to learn. Not that they wanted to.
Yeah.
They had to learn how shit functioned
That's
if
what
they wanted to get shit done.
That's what I was saying to start this whole thing. I won't try to reiterate the whole thing, but just a lot of people are speaking up now because they're just fed up and they didn't say anything before. And now you're seeing pushback in a way that you weren't seeing pushback for a lot of people. A lot of people just let shit slide, and that's what we ended up with. All right, let's get to the next one. Let's finish this. I don't have anything to add other than sharing an analogous anecdote about how I figured out in college and grad school 10 to 15 years ago that apathetic, nihilistic, fake left folks are full of it and cannot be depended upon. They would sit up and complain about the plight of the poor and the hungry, which often led to a lot of big theoretical talk about revolution. But when I invited them to go volunteer with me at food banks and shelters to help poor people in our community right now, they would never join me. And it wasn't just a no thanks. They thought the very idea of me spending my free time doing those things was like the oddest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. I would instantly just stop respecting those people, because if you want to get off your ass and dedicate effort to something easy, how the hell am I supposed to trust you with a rifle in my life when the revolution, aka the race war, jumps off?
Right.
Yeah, people always talking about a race war, man. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to fight a race war.
Me
but
either.
Also, like, that has been a clarion call for a lot of people as like this theoretical thing. Like, you hear people, are we gonna have a civil war? Is it gonna be a? And I'm always like, I don't know. It's like, did we ever really stop in America? Like, it might not be with guns and like troops, but it's like still
a war.
Every day it feels like people fighting for their lives. But this I think some people believe in it in this way of like this lofty thing that's gonna happen, this cause that's gonna force us all together. And I'm sorry, man, our side don't have guns like that. And I don't think that's even what we're about. I saw people getting upset with the Biden administration, Prajine. Why can't I never remember her name? Matter of fact, let me look it up so I won't say her name wrong. Mm-hmm. But she's like the White House spokesperson. And Karine Jean-Pierre. Wow, why do I keep fucking that up? Anyway, Karine Jean-Pierre. She said she was basically asked about the Brett Kavanaugh going to a steak restaurant and being heckled and protested by people on the street, and eventually leaving through the back door of the restaurant. And someone was basically Steve Ducey, I think, was basically trying to imply like the Biden administration is okay with people threatening and intimidating the judges and all this shit. And she was basically like, no, we're not saying that. People have the right to free speech. You go out in public as a justice. Somebody might let you know that they don't like what you did. And then they're like, well, so you saying they don't have a right to privacy? It's like, they do have a right to privacy, but people, as long as people are peacefully protesting, then there's nothing wrong with what those people are doing. That's their right too. And it was funny because I saw people kind of twisting it into her, like, so she's saying that that we can only protest outside a restaurant and shit, which was like, it was the way the tweet was phrased to get people to say stuff like that. But the other part was there were some people who have been upset for like a couple of weeks at just the idea that the Biden administration says, yo, we support peaceful protesting. Please stay peaceful. And I don't know what they expect, but are y'all expecting any politician ever to be like, don't be peaceful, go out there and hurt people? And
nope.
Like, y'all, like, I'm not even sure what the anger would be from. It's like people just need to be mad at somebody.
Agreed.
But yeah, I saw people upset that she said peaceful. Like, and like I said, the other part is our side is doing peaceful protests. We're not burning shit down and fucking people up and hurting people, and that's not even what our side does. And honestly, we wouldn't support it if it did happen in that way.
Right.
If y'all really saw somebody get murdered on national TV, like, I don't think people really are ready for all that in America, in that type of way.
Right.
And they would, so I don't know. It's just, I thought it was kind of, it felt like people just trying to make some kind of rhetorical point on like, look at this. They said peaceful protest. Like, yeah, that's what it should be, peaceful. That's the whole reason January 6th was some bullshit and people don't like it. And people going to jail and people getting investigated. And the DOJ is still like, subpoenaing people and shit. Like, people going to go to jail off of that shit. Because you do have a right for a peaceful protest. You don't have a right for the shit that they did that day. And we can't let that be the standard. A lot of people just want to be Republicans and conservatives, like the Trump kind, that do stuff like that. And I'm like, that's not a good model. That doesn't get shit done either. Anyway, like they don't live their lives. I view a good portion of people who inaccurately call themselves progressives the same way. We both know I can't depend on you, so let's not pretend. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting too. I was listening to a podcast. It was a really good podcast, but I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about how the activism, there was like this poll or the study that showed that like activism attracts a lot of sociopaths and how just as an occupation, and not that every activist is a sociopath, every sociopath is an activist, but just that it's an attractive occupation because it's one of the few things where you can say I'm an activist. It's like being a stand-up comedian, right? You do it one time. Being a porn star, you do it one time, a porn star. So I'm an activist. I self-declare myself an activist, put it in my bio on social media. From now on, you can't ever say shit to me because I'm a better person than you. I'm an activist. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying this as an activist. I'm already more altruistic than you. I'm higher minded than you. I'm more passionate than you. And so I'm supposed to have like the Trump card whenever it comes time to get in an argument. I was like, I'm an activist. You don't get to tell. If you say something against me, you're against this cause, you're against these people. And I think that is an attractive thing for people to have. And I think that's why you see a lot of the fights that happen on the left are couched in that. It's a lot of like, I'm just a better moral person than you. And because of that, we can't have a discussion because I'm just a better person than you. And if you want to have a discussion, you're somehow aiding and abetting these other causes. And it's hard to have those. It's hard to get people to come together off of that. Classic R&B Lover says, I voted not really in the poll. So the poll was, do you watch podcasts on YouTube? Yes, all the time. Yes, sometimes. And no, not really.
I don't really. I'm more of a, I guess I won't say traditionalist as far as I listen to podcasts through podcast apps, but I understand people using these other methods and means because some people, like you said, as streamers, they stream podcasts through their TVs. I mean, they stream YouTube through their TVs to listen to their podcast. And so it's like a different form.
Yeah, so 12% of people do all the time. Sometimes about 40% of people, which is a lot. Honestly, that's a big number. I'm glad we started putting the podcast on YouTube because I would not have thought that. And about 49% not really. Classic on B Lover says, I voted not really in the poll because until you mentioned, I never followed the show that posted this podcast on YouTube. I've watched a couple of the Blackout Tips episodes. Well, thanks for watching ours. On Anchor, the poll was 7%. They watch it all the time. 45% sometimes, and 49% not really. And I would imagine a lot of them don't watch it on YouTube because they're on Spotify already if they're answering in this poll. And Spotify allows you to put video on there too. If we wanted to put a video podcast on Spotify, we could. Only reason I don't is because it literally would take too fucking long. Like I'll be uploading shit all night and I ain't got it.
It's just a slow process.
Yeah, I have to edit it, then I have to put it up. It's not worth it. And I've listened to a couple of video podcasts. I just don't get it. I'm like, I guess if I want to stare at my phone, I can see y'all's faces, but I was getting enough from what y'all was saying. I was picking up what y'all was putting down.
And also I think it's just how I was introduced to podcasts, because like I said, to me, I never really considered YouTube a place for podcasting. Because it wasn't initially made for that. There are things that I watch on YouTube. Like when I'm playing video games, I look for tutorials and things like that, but I don't consider that a podcast.
Yeah. Which right do you think will lose next in America? Was the question. Let's see what y'all's answers were. Bula says protest.
Yep.
Honestly, man, there's a slate coming up. I want to say the protest is on there, or I know affirmative action is one of the ones coming up in the next slate. I can't remember if protest is.
Yeah, because they don't get tired of being they don't want to be discomfort, and they're gonna be like, what you ain't gonna do is stand out here and tell us we wrong.
Also, there's been a slate of, and this is what I was saying over the last few years of the show. This has been a slate of cases and lawsuits designed to go to the Supreme Court to give them now that we have a conservative majority, we need new rulings on things that people have said are established law. And being that this court is kind of more ruling by power than necessarily any doctrine, like they kind of switch between modalities based on the case and what the conservative side is. If it needs to be states' rights, it'll be states' right. If it needs to be the Second Amendment in the Constitution, it needs to be traditionalist, that's what it'll be. If it needs to be I think it's called the major questions doctrine, they'll throw that out there. They just flip based on whichever side the conservative argument is on. So I think we're gonna see a lot of cases roll in that people have had their eye on, but now you're really gonna have your eye on it.
Yeah, and like you were saying, this is why people go, well, that's weird. Like somebody just do something really wild and strange. You go, well, that's weird. A lot of it is just so they can get the ball rolling to push a lot of this shit up to the Supreme Court. We don't think nothing about it. We're just like, well, why would they do that? A lot of it is just so somebody can glom onto it and use them as the mascot to push the shit forward.
The right to be pleasantly plump, says Miss Barnes. Lee says they can't wait to take away our voting rights or at least limit them severely. I feel like they're saving the best for last, like Spades. Yeah, I think in 2023 they may be hearing some of these cases about like who gets to say whose votes count in states. Like, is it is it the people that have been installed that
is it because Trump lost?
So some of those lawsuits are going to come up. Like at first a lot of them were getting dismissed, but we got to keep our eye on the courts. Birth control, says Alicia.
Yep.
Clarence Thomas literally put that in his write-up. Birth control was one, gay marriage was one.
Yeah,
and I forget the third one, but there was like 3 things he put that basically were like, wink, please challenge these.
Yeah, and birth control also includes condoms. Like, I don't think people think when they
I
think
don't
of
think it will include condoms though.
you don't?
No.
Okay. All right,
I
because it's
think
more
it's
about
about
controlling
controlling.
women.
It's
I
controlling.
mean, not women, but people
Yeah,
with
people with
uterus.
vaginas. Yeah, I mean, but it's kind of like a weird thing to. It's been a really weird thing with the language around this because I do think it's about in their minds the conservatives controlling women.
Right.
Um, I think people want to be inclusive, so they're saying people with vaginas to count like non-binary people and trans men. But the truth is, when these type of people think about this, they thinking about controlling cishet women's
Correct.
bodies, and we'll get to it later because someone wrote in with a comment, and at first I was like, "Oh, okay," and then I thought about it. I was like, "No, I said what I said, and I meant what I said." Um, but I think a lot of this in the minds of the biggest is like we are tired of cishet women having a say in their own bodies.
Hmm.
We want to go back to a time where we told them what to do with their bodies, and they did it.
Right.
If I put Carrie says, oh yeah, Carly, I'm sorry. Oh wait, I'm skipping one. Aretha says breathing. Nelson says fair housing rights is what I'm afraid they'll come with after next shit.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of homeless people. There's gonna be a lot of people that are going to lose their homes, lose their apartments, and things like that. Because when you start talking about fair housing, you start talking about when you start applying in applications and how they screen them and how they look at them.
Well, fair housing also doesn't have to be being homeless. It could just be like how much they make you pay. It could be if they where you can live in a city. Like we know black people are going to live in Chicago, but we're going to redline them to a certain area of Chicago. So it doesn't necessarily make them homeless, but you can't just go have a home where you want. There's all kinds of clauses too about like people would put up about like making people pay fees, these hidden fees, like, oh, black people just happen to pay a higher interest rate to stay here. We're just not going to rent to any gay families if this, this area of town. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean homeless, although it, maybe that it'll literally be nobody's got a home, but normally what it means is that you're whatever marginalized group you're in, you're going to pay an exorbitant fee. You're going to pay more for a house than if it was a white family moving into the same house. You're going to end up paying a lot more for that same house and possibly never own it.
Yes. And I think a unseen consequence of that, I think, will be homelessness, because if you raise it so high, I can't afford it.
Right. I hear what you're saying. I'm not saying it won't be. I think in a lot of people's mind, you hear fair housing, you go, oh, they're just not gonna let people stay there. And I'm just saying, historically, that's not been the case.
Right.
You can stay there, you just ain't never gonna own it. You're gonna pay way more. You're gonna need 3-4 people to stay in one house, as opposed to, it's like it's easier to go back to what America was doing than to leap forward into the things we like to see. Definitely contraception, says Carly. And the rest will follow. There are people in power who are very invested in restoring this country to the factory settings, upholding the rights of moneyed white men. Carrie says, if I put my conspiracy brother hat on, I'd say slavery, since they've been looking for an unpaid labor force since they abolished it. Realistically, though, gay marriage is most likely next. Marcus says marriage equality. Shonda, same-sex marriage. Rakisha says affirmative action, gay marriage, and voting. Well, a lot of y'all cheating, putting two things, but yeah, I think affirmative action is definitely coming up soon. Raphael says, I listened to sister-in-law just before listening to this episode, so my latest concern is tied to the election and voting. I don't want to think about it, but they really gonna steal our votes. Aaron says contraception, and Roger says hoochie daddy shorts. Oh, you want to see the women get out in the streets and vote? Everyone gonna be unified and making sure them coochie daddy stores stay. All right. Next episode was 2556 cotton picking internship. We got a couple comments. Appia says our political system. Keep in mind she's from Germany. Our political system isn't perfect, but I think it's way better here. Yeah, you know what? Sight unseen. I would probably venture to guess. Yeah, y'all shit better than ours. I mean. I don't know what y'all's, I know that y'all actually, because y'all had both of those world wars and there was like a move to like try to stamp out a lot of the white supremacy, not saying it can never be completely stamped out or whatever. But there was like
Y'all
an
tolerance is a lot
actual
lower.
there was an actual incentive and effort to root out white supremacy in Germany
Mhm.
in a way that America's never had, which you would
Mm-mm.
think we would have. If you would think that at some point people would have been fed up, especially after the Civil War when we had Reconstruction. You would have thought a lot more of the country would have been like, hey man, this just has to go. Like, y'all cost us so many lives fighting over this shit. We just can't deal with this anymore. We're moving on. No, take down the Confederate flags, take down the Dixie songs, like no statues. We're just moving on. This is a bad thing. It was a bad moment. We can't go back there. We're going to teach our kids to be better than this. And for 8 years, it was kind of like that. And then it just, Reconstruction ended, and it's been party on, Wayne, ever since. But yeah, we don't have just two political parties. We have many. As long as a party gets more than 5% of an election, it's proportionally represented in the parliament. This way, the parties have to work together and build coalitions to build a government. Lots of solutions are built on compromises. Don't think this situation with taking away abortion rights will happen here. And one of our most successful parties is the CDU, which the C stands for Christian. They are conservative, but not as insane as your Christians. Angela Merkel is in this party, and she is pretty sane. I tend to vote more left, often green. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Germany, I think it's Germany, that has a similar they actually have like an approach with abortion that centers on the idea that like there is still personhood considered for a fetus. And it's not, but at the same time, they didn't arrive at this conclusion then that a woman has no rights to her body, which is just an interesting thing to think that they were able to pull that off. Because in America, it's one or the other. If you believe in the personhood of a fetus in America, that means you believe a woman has no rights once she is even conceived of. Like once a baby, you believe. I keep saying woman because in this case, like I said, the people that are against this are saying this. This is not my
Yes.
belief.
Mm-mm.
But as far as they're concerned, the second that a sperm hits an egg inside of a woman's body, they are like, we fucking own you. You know, I would, I wonder how Germany could arrive at that, and if that's something even America could copy, because we seem to be out to fucking lunch, y'all. Mary says, I get so heated when I think about the short-sightedness and the purity of the far-left Democrats. We have a very heated mayoral race here in Los Angeles. On one side is a billionaire Republican who turned Democrat just before the race. Oh, I saw this. And he spent a lot of money and got like big celebrity endorsements. So wow, it's so weird. So weird. He is awful. There's only one person who can realistically beat him, a very accomplished and respected black woman, but she's not perfect because, as one voter guide put it, she is out of touch with the community because she was in DC for too long. What the fuck? They went ahead and endorsed a third person who has no chance in hell to win. Why not just throw away your vote? I voted for her even though she wants to restore the LAPD to full capacity. I don't know if she can or really wants to, and who cares? We can't have this horrible man win.
Right.
In the pursuit of perfection, these people will let this place burn. Awful. Cross fingers. Karen Bass wins in November. Yeah, that's the thing too, because one of the things that really dings a lot of these Democrats is responding to the social media calls to be like very extreme left,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that being very extreme left is probably going to make you lose. So then you end up and the Republicans know this, by the way, which is why most Republican attack ads say the candidate that they're fighting against is extreme left, even when they're not. Right? They just love to do that. Just don't vote for, I don't know, some centrist Democrat because they're gonna abolish the police and they think da 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 da. And they it's like they know that the shit hurts us and our candidates, but we won't admit that it does because we don't want to look like we're anything less than pure.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I haven't followed that race. The poll: how much are you paying for your car every month in American dollars? Because it's $700 a month on average now, y'all.
Ooh.
If you are getting yourself a car, the average car payment is 700 of them things a month.
That's ridiculous. What are you driving? An airplane?
Lord Jesus, Lord. I don't know what to do. Oh, you know what? Let me go back to the Karen Bass thing one more time. I forgot to mention this. The whole she's been in DC too long. This is low key what got us Trump. Was the idea that experience is the bad thing, being around a long time is the bad thing. The idea that mistakes and then sticking around after your mistakes is a negative and not a positive has really warped a lot of people's thinking, and they're looking for flash in the pan, unproven solutions that are not vetted. And that's how you get Trump. That's how you get a lot of the, Marjorie Taylor Greene, some of these people where it's just like they said the right things. We don't have any proof or background on them,
no history, nothing.
And because of that, we just gonna pick them because when we look at these other people that have experience, we can always point to a mistake they made. Well, I don't know about y'all. Any of y'all that have had a job for an extended period of time, you made a mistake at some point. And so, and some stuff was even considered not a mistake, and then years later retconned into like, this is terrible. So that's the kind of thing that they're dealing with. And I think seeing experience as a negative is just a really bad thing that's happening in politics right now.
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. Because it's one of those things where, like you said, when you have nobody with experience, nobody that has, gone through the system, know how politics work, and you have somebody that comes in and says the right thing, and a lot of this, well, they both are the same, allows people vote for these unvetted people because they have no history to look upon.
Back to this, the poll. Nothing, I don't have a car is paid off. 71% of y'all. 13% 350 or lower. Wow. How'd you do that, son? Damn, how'd you do that, son? 351 to $600, 16%, and 0% on our website have over $600 a month for a car payment. Let's check the Spotify poll numbers. Now, I expect some people to have over $600 a month, but probably because they're driving luxury vehicles, because Spotify people have money. 50% say nothing, I don't have a car is paid off. 21% say 350 or lower because they got really good credit.
They go in there with that zero down.
26% between $351 and $600 a month, and 4% over $600 a month because they're probably driving Maybachs or something.
Gotta be.
Don't blow your hands off tomorrow because it was the day before July 4th. Carrie says, too late typing this with my nubs because I blew off all my fingers. Kidding, we kept it pretty low key, seeing that we went kind of big on Juneteenth. We love to hear it. Miss Barnes says, I went to a distillery over the weekend and disrespected my liver. Carla says, I haven't touched firecrackers since I was a kid. It's the danger for me.
Come on, the danger.
Raphael says, I am only here for the food and drinks at my neighbor's rooftop, and the kids can watch fireworks until they get tired. I'm the observer. Rachel says, little fireworks for the kids. Otherwise, we don't do anything. Fingers intact. Chaco Bean says, I was inside all day with my senior dogs. We had a good time just relaxing. I did my best not to have them be too stressed with the noise.
Yeah, it bothers a lot of animals.
And Aaron says, the whole neighborhood sounded like it was being shot up. We got the illegal fireworks. And Renee says, glitter bomb the patriarchy. Yes, glitter bomb them to death. Choke on our glitter. All right, the next episode was CSI Spicy, episode 2557. We only got one comment, and it's from R.N. Gullidge, who says, Grandpappy, the chicken's after me. Has to be the most country and hilarious thing I've ever heard. That man was fighting for his life and his family, LOL. Sometimes you just need to beat a chicken's ass. He has no choice and did what he had to do, not guilty. Yep.
And he's doing his thing.
The poll was, should that man go to jail for killing that rooster?
Nope.
The results are 95% no, with 5% yes. Oh man, I didn't see that coming. And on Spotify, 80% no, 20% yes. Guess we got some vegans listening to the show now. The Q&A was enjoy your fried chicken and collard greens. Carrie says, I think I'm going to run up in a chicken murderer in an establishment for lunch today. Thanks for the suggestion. They do be murdering them chickens, okay?
Chickens are dying every day, people, at churches, Popeyes, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Really.
Sandy says this episode had me crying, laughing in my car on the way home. It reminded me of Black Jeopardy with Tom Hanks. The full interview was Picasso, as my kids say. Oh, thank you, Sandy. Glad you enjoyed it. Choco Bean says, I don't eat meat, so I can only have the greens. This racism is not feeling very representative. Miss Barnes says, this was my Juneteenth meal and was my meal again for the 4th of July. Carly says, oh, I will, but the people who made this sign could kick rocks. Kylane says, the parents dropped off some plates and for me and my siblings, we had to work. On another note, I was aware Usher had a Tiny Desk concert, but didn't watch it until I heard, watch this on here. Chrissy says, oh yes sir, I will. Rachel says fried chicken, watermelon, cornbread, greens. I don't give a fuck. I'm smashing it all, and every whole white person in the country can watch me in my greasy lip glory. Queen Mel Mindy says, sounds like Simon from the bodega got laid out. Shonda says, I absolutely will. Suge Knight says, I enjoyed it and a nap after the meal. Yeah, you gonna have to go to sleep. Roger says, I can't. The chicken ambulance took my 3-piece. Last episode of the week, we had episode 2558, a fourth a cup of sugar. And we got 3 comments. The first is from It's Me. Good morning. I didn't know until listening to you that Darren Bailey said that stupid shit while in my town. He's not going to win against JB, but with the way of the world he could come close. Illinois is only blue because of Chicago and the North Shore, and a lot of these so-called Dems or liberal white people would and / will flip in a heartbeat, or if enough people don't get out and vote. Bailey is a loud and proud Trumper and believes we need to get rid of all of our sins: abortion, homosexuality, not racism, white terrorism. Yeah, not racism and white terrorism. Why would we get rid? What's the saying about that? In order for our state and country to be great again. So I'm not surprised by his statements. I'm right with you, Karen. When Obama was in office, all we heard was Sharia law. Mm-hmm. Yet now, that's exactly what they're moving us towards. The hypocrisy on the right is glaring. I wish I had a country that I could escape to, because it's ghetto here with all these crazy whites. Not all white folks, but ... Appia says, whites are often crazy, I admit. Well, this is never... It's never good when you
be like, we ain't all there, I admit.
It's never good when you start off that, because now I'm waiting on the but. Still, I have one question. Mm-hmm. One of the worst judges on the Supreme Court is Clarence Thomas, and he is a black man. No one says anything about it. If I only listen to audio media, I would never know it. I know about his past and Anita Hill. Don't you see him as black? No. Is it that if you are terrible enough, you become white? I'm confused.
You don't understand.
First of all, him being black comes up all the time. I was listening to Keith and the Girl, and I think they were talking about the Roe v. Wade thing, and Keith was talking about how mad everyone is at Clarence Thomas because he wrote part of the decision, and his was the worst one, the one saying, and we should look into gay marriage and stuff. He's interracially married. It's like, are you going to legislate yourself out of your interracial marriage? How far are you trying to dial the clock back in America?
Right.
And I think him at the time was like, why are we even singling him out? Because it was like 6-3. So 5 other people voted exactly the same as him, but he's the one we're singling out. And it's like the unspoken thing is part of the reason he's singled out is because he is black.
Right.
Because him being fucked up is even more ridiculous in a way. It's the same thing with Amy Coney Barrett, who's a woman and conservative on the court, and she's ruling against women's rights to have an abortion. Mm-hmm. Like you can't rule against, reproductive rights and be like, but as a woman is very empowering, and as a feminist icon, it's like, no. But that being said, if you really are genuinely curious about Clarence Thomas and you'd like to know more, check out this episode of On the Media called Locked and Loaded. On the Media is this podcast. It comes out like a couple times a week. Check out the episode called Locked and Loaded. I believe it's from last week or something. And they have a person on there that talks about they wrote a book called something like The Enigma of Clarence Thomas or something like that, I believe was the name of it. And it's such a great discussion because this person, Corey Robin is his name, a writer and professor of political science at Brooklyn College, basically just breaks down everything about Clarence, and it is some really disturbing, scary shit. And race is definitely a part of his story. And
race is why he
listening to the illogic of how he comes to his rulings and determination, I think it should strike fear in the core of everybody. I don't know any black people that don't talk about Clarence Thomas being a coon and a sellout and Uncle Tom and all this stuff. Now, you may be missing some of the context clues because this man's been a fucking Supreme Court justice for like over 20 years now.
Right.
So like every time he comes up, I'm not gonna mention he's black. You either know he's black or you don't.
Right.
And when we say shit like Uncle Clarence Thomas and Uncle Ruckus, or the, and all the other jokes we have about him, I know we made plenty of jokes about him. So yeah, I don't think that anyone's ignoring that he's black. I think we just all have, it's not a surprise to us anymore because he's been ruling like this for over 20 years, and it's a goddamn shame.
Right. And a lot of black people feel very betrayed by him because a lot of black people at the time he was coming up was actually pushing for him to get that office because he was black, at the detriment to a black woman that was like, this nigga ain't shit. And they was like, well, bitch, we don't care.
Yeah.
For now, they were like, oh, our bad. We sorry. We didn't know. And he got in there and was like, I actually, I'm here now. So now I'm going to rule the opposite of everything that I claim.
He hated his own sister. He acts like she's a deadbeat and a welfare queen. Turns out she's like an activist and stuff. Like he got major fucking issues, and a lot of them sitting around black women. One of the things I didn't know because I just, he's one of those people I just always known was kind of like a Uncle Tom sellout type of dude. So one of the things I didn't know though was how much of his shit is couched in a weird type of black power fantasy. Like black people don't need help because we're capable of everything. So anytime you reach out to help black people, you actually hurt black people because you're building it to an inferiority complex. He's also big on like America is not for black people, so we shouldn't keep trying to change it to make it better for black people. Very weird logic. And a lot of the welfare system stuff that has helped people in general in America, he sees as things that have helped black women too much and made it so they can surpass black men, and that's destroying our black family. He's just a psychotic, sociopathic type of dude who just seems to be a self-hater. Even though he, in his mind, he thinks that shit makes sense, but I don't see how he can quite make that shit curve into some logic. Let's see. Mr. Hilton says another great episode. No coronavirus news, but the episode still felt full and informative. Keep up the awesome work, Karen and Hot Rodney. Oh, for sure, we will. A fourth a cup of sugar poll was: have you ever tried to put cocaine in an orifice and hide it?
No.
Karen says no. 100% of our audience on our poll said no on our website. Now I expect it to be a little different on Spotify because in order to put cocaine up your orifice, you gotta have cocaine money.
You gotta have cocaine money.
And so on the Spotify poll, instead of 100%, it's 97%.
Oh shit!
3% say yes, which means 3% of y'all got that cocaine money.
Are they the same people that spend over $700 a month on a car payment too?
Probably the same people, Karen. Biscuit can technology can't keep up was the comment. And people said every time I open a can of biscuits, it's like Jack in the Box.
Ain't it though?
You don't know when it's gonna pop, and it's a jump scare. Yep. Rachel says I popped that scene with my thumb like a fucking G. Nigga, I do it too. It don't work. I want to say, do it on camera, Rachel. Put it on camera, upload it to your Instagram, tag me. And don't try to, and don't cheat. Don't take like 6 different videos and then put the one where it worked. I want to see you do it like 3 times in a row. Take some biscuits and feed like a class from the kids. Carrie says I can honestly say that I've never had an issue opening a can of biscuits, but I do think they should come with a resealable can. Yeah, I hear you, Carrie.
Yeah, in case you don't you use the whole thing, because you
Yeah.
got like, I don't want to bake all 14 of these.
I hear you on the resealable can. I just don't believe you on the you never had problems part. That just means that just means you probably don't make biscuits out of the can. Cut Ye Girl says they used the tech budget on making the flaky layer biscuits. Money well spent in my book. Well, those are good. Carly says I opened a can of sweet rolls last week and threw that shit like a grenade to open it. If you know, you know. I know.
Throw that shit up against the wall or the refrigerator. Boop. Okay, let's go now.
Bad Style Unicorn says, I also wish there was a way to resell half the biscuits so you have to make them all. Then they get weird when you try to make the rest the same next day. Miss Barnes says the domestic dirty bomb of the grocery stores. Mm-hmm. Finally, something we agree on. Raphael says, I grew up in a former British colony, so never had to struggle with biscuits until I became American. I just assumed that this is the way. Now I know that it's safe to ask for a change. Hallelujah. Yeah, biscuits for you means something different there. It means cookies. Roger says, did you try frozen ones in a bag? Not yet, but you put me onto that, so maybe I'll look into that next.
What's the frozen ones in the bag?
Karen, how would I know? I've never had them. He's suggesting it.
Okay.
So I said not yet. You see what I'm saying?
Guess we're going to learn together then.
I guess so.
I'm assuming they must be already separated.
So I don't know. I guess I'm gonna find out. You know, I'm willing to broaden my horizons. Okay. Mm-hmm. Y'all say it's biscuits frozen in the bag, then it's biscuits frozen in the bag. Let's fucking get it, y'all. Also, I just want to, just as a general aside, thank you to everybody that's leaving comments on our YouTube.
Yay!
We're still getting comments on our YouTube. We get them all the time.
Yes, thank you for liking and subscribing.
Yeah. We have accomplished, I want to say, 3 of the 4 things it takes to be monetized. One of them might just take some time.
Okay.
We got enough subscribers, we got enough like people liking our stuff, and we got enough comments and stuff. The next hurdle for us, and I guess I can check our progress right now, but we have to get over like 4,000 hours of people watching our content.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so once we get 4,000 hours of people watching our content, then we can actually get people to we can start monetizing stuff. So that's gonna be our next big push, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's for people to like get on the page and just let it roll.
Yeah. So I'm trying to see how I can look up this thing, because they had purchase and membership. It was something like monetize or something. Nope, that's not it. Well, I wish I knew YouTube better.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, because I about to say, oh, this is just new to us.
Yeah, settings, your account, membership. That's not what I want to see.
No problem. I think that a lot of these rules and restrictions, they usually didn't be like this, but they changed it. They just made it harder to monetize than it used to be.
Yeah, I think, because people were like exploiting it and stuff, and also they just didn't want people to make a whole lot of money and shit.
Right.
I mean, I hear it's still like pennies on the dollar. Okay, so we have over 1,000 subscribers. We have 1,153. We got 2-step verification. We have no active community guideline strikes. And lastly, we need 4,000 watch hours. Right now, we have 1,554 public watch hours. So, I mean, if you want to do us a favor, just go over there and click on our channel. Maybe click on a playlist. We have a playlist called Video Podcast. And I guess if you just click on that and just let it play, Maybe that'll help us out. I don't know. But thank y'all is my main general point is
thank you.
Thank y'all for the people that took the time out to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We got emails, no voicemails this week. Let's see. DJ Jaffa says, "Hi Rod, Karen, DJ Jaffa here. Hope you both are well. Consider how messed up the world is at the moment. After seeing one of Rod's many tweets about the drug front they call Arby's, I decided to check if we had any in the UK. I'm pleased to say that the UK is Arby's drug free. Here's an article I found about why we don't have the scourge in my country.
Oh no, what
Stay
happened?
safe and keep on creating life-changing content. Big love from the UK, Jaffa." And this is an article. Is there Arby's in the UK or London? I don't know.
What happened? Did they fall out with Arby's?
It doesn't really. Let me see. I don't know. It's one of these sassy articles. It doesn't tell you why. It doesn't say really why. Okay, moving on to the point of the article. God damn, y'all can see how far this was down in this article, which was to figure out if there's an Arby's in the UK. Arby's has over 3,000 in the US, blah, 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 but the UK is not on that list as far as countries. They used to operate in the UK. In 1992, they had plans to open 100 restaurants across England. Unfortunately, the London flagship store closed in 1994. It was blamed on the location, which was in a spot where many fast food restaurants had opened and closed. The idea was it wasn't the Arby's brand that was failing, but instead the real estate choice. They pressed ahead with their plans to open up 100 stores within 10 years. It's unclear how much their roast beef sandwiches really filled the need in the UK, but they persisted for the next 10 years. Finally, in 2001, they went into liquidation, and the final 2 restaurants located in Hampshire and Surrey were closed. The staff were all let go, and thus ended Arby's in the UK expansion and takeover plans.
Oh, so they were there, but they were just like,
they failed, as they should. And it's bad because that's European people saying we won't want to eat your roast beef food. Like they ain't exactly known as the most appetizing cooks over there. And they said, nah, we good.
I was like, we don't want that.
Alicia says, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Tips. Y'all, I'm listening to my email on the feedback show. I'm so disgusted. I want to write in with an update of that goddamn Juneteenth ice cream." Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was a real good email. When I finally scooped that ice cream into my cute little ice cream bowl using my cute little ice cream scoop, I was so pleased. But when that spoonful graced my tongue, I immediately felt like a fool. Y'all, this shit was so terrible. As Rod would say, it was whack as hell.
Oh, no.
Red velvet cheesecake, where? Nowhere. That shit was salt and pepper to taste. It tasted like there were no black people in the room when they came up with the idea for this shit. It tasted like the people who were working in the factory were talking about red velvet and cheesecake when they making the ice cream. They're like, we hoping to get some through osmosis. It tasted like red velvet cheesecake whispered over a tub of red and yellow vanilla ice cream. I do hate that. God, that is a big pet peeve of mine. If you tell me something got something in it, and it's barely in there, man,
I want to be in it.
I'm not a person that gets very mad about stuff in general, about food like that, but dog, there is nothing more frustrating than you buy like a cookies and cream ice cream, ain't no cookies in that bitch. It's like, dog, what?
Yeah,
who approved this?
Right, that's why I love the Two Scoops place, because if they say it's in there, bitches through the whole thing.
Yeah, God, oh man, you just gave me a flashback.
Yeah, that will make you want to turn something over.
You're like, man, what the fuck? I definitely said mint chocolate chips. There's no chocolate chips in this.
Ain't no mints.
Right. Mints. Also,
pieces of mints.
No, that's not how mint chocolate chip works at all. I question wherever you buy your ice cream. Open up and have some peppermints in your ice cream and chip a tooth. Also, the Pride ice cream was nasty too. It was supposed to be white chocolate ice cream with cherries and brown pieces. That shit tasted like Jergens cherry almond lotion smells. The ice cream tasted the way all my aunties and their friends smelled in the 90s. It would have made more sense for that shit to be the Juneteenth flavor. At least it tasted like something that related to black people. In short, I should have listened to the niggas on the internet. They were right. That shit did not deserve to be in the shelves. So my big thing with it was I definitely wanted to taste it just in case it was good.
Mm-hmm.
But my big thing with it was I wanted to have it because I was gonna do videos and make jokes. You know, like I was gonna like go on my IG live and say something like real, real anti-black, and then I was gonna pull up the ice cream after I finished saying it. And like for example, I had the watermelon spiked lemonade, and then I posted a video on my Instagram and my Twitter that was me drinking it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I made the music that Willie D song. So like as I was drinking it and looking at the camera,
Where the coons at? Where the coons at?
Where they at? Where they at? Where they at?
Where the coons at? Where the coons at?
Where they at? Where they at? Where they at?
so I wanted to do that, you know. I also had another idea too when Omarion did his verses,
Mm-hmm.
and him and his brother went and got slices of watermelon and did watermelon cunnilingus on them. I had an idea. I didn't go through with this idea, but my idea was to go buy a slice of watermelon,
Mm-hmm.
sit it on the counter, and then record myself about to go downtown on it. But then I was gonna pull out like a vibrator.
That's the shit that goes through your mind.
I was gonna be like playing some music and shit, and then I just thought that would have been.
You know what would have been great? It would have been even better if you'd have played I wanna freak you.
Well, I wanted it to be the Omarion music that he was playing at the verses. Like
Oh,
that would
okay,
have made it funny.
Right, because that's what they were doing.
So it's just gonna be like me, and then all of a sudden you see me pulling out the watermelon. It's like, oh, what is he about to do? Then you see me pulling out like some lube, and then a dildo. Like everybody be like, God damn, what's this man about to do to this watermelon?
That watermelon ain't girl, you in danger. Shout out to Janelle J.
Christoph writes here, hear me out. Hey, Rod and Karen, hear me out. I was having dinner with a friend the other night. First of all, hear me out. This is how you know whatever you about to say is already fucked up. Because hear me out is you saying, I know y'all about to be like, you saying some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So you like, hey, hear me out. That's what you don't start with hear me out unless you know it's some bullshit. So let's say what you out. Hear me out. I was having dinner with a friend the other night. We started a discussion around the shortage of workers, low unemployment. And we tried to reason if people no longer wanted to work or did everyone just disappear, which got me thinking, what if the fact that 1 million plus people died of COVID in the past year, just the US, is not a result of the virus, but hear me out, the fucking rapture, and we just don't know.
Jesus done called everybody already.
Like millions of mofos across the world just disappeared over the past few years, and that's some rapture shit. Love y'all.
Nope. I'm sorry to tell you, the virus took a lot of these people out. Like,
you know, I'm open to the conversation. I think it, you know, it really is something that I think is a little bit multifaceted and layered. And so, yeah.
That's my official answer. Anthony says, hey, Rod and Karen, just wanted to give you a heads up. Someone in the White House is listening to y'all. When you were talking about folks asking Biden to make federal land available for abortions, you theorized, well, what after? What happens when they go back to their home state? Video link and transcript below. Let me see how long the video link is.
Good afternoon, everybody.
I can't play the whole 50 minutes. I'll just get to the transcript part he's sitting in. Question, and just quickly, has he ruled out the sanction of federal lands for abortion? Miss Jean-Pierre. So look, we're looking at all options. Everything is on the table. We've talked about how, you know, while this is an idea that it comes from a good place, it is definitely a difficult thing to protect the provider or to protect any woman who is on federal land once they leave. It puts them in a legal, kind of an illegal bind. So it is something that we have to think about when we had those discussions. But again, everything is on the table. He's going to do everything he can from whatever legal authority that he has to make sure that we can continue to protect women's rights, also the freedom of women. Yes. Because my thing is with that plan that everyone was like gung-ho on Twitter, like they thought they just had outthought this shit. It was like, okay, I'm a provider of abortions. I'm on federal land. The second I step off that land in Alabama to go home, Alabama's going to arrest me.
Yes, they are.
And Alabama's going to say it's illegal to do what you're doing, and we're just going to hold you or take you to court, and it's going to end up in court, and it's going to end up being, you know, like Ken Biden and them hire lawyers, but it's just not the slam dunk people think where they're just going to be sitting at the edge of the border like, oh, we can't do nothing about this.
Next time, Gadget.
Yeah, not to mention, I guarantee they'll pass laws in the states. Like if they some states already have passed those laws. What am I saying? Where they say if you go to another state and you're from here, we count that as murder.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I just like I said, it's not about for a lot of these people. It's just that I feel them. I agree with them. Try everything, whatever makes you feel better. Good. At the end of the day, it's all avoiding the very hard work of committing to a process where you need to vote your people into office over a period of time to solidify these things. And because we got lazy, got greedy, we are here now. And I don't want to repeat this with this shortcut thinking of we can get all these rights back tomorrow.
Yeah, because it was very frustrating about the left, and particularly the extreme left and some of the progressives. They actually think that this shit can be microwave. You can just snap a finger, you can just, you know, magically just do some shit, and all of a sudden rights are back. It's like, bitch, do you know how long 50 years is? Motherfucking 50 years.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where you want to do the shit instantly, and you don't actually want to do the work.
And also, I'm not even saying it has to be 50 years on our side. Mm-hmm. But it's not gonna come back after like this November. It's not gonna come back next November, possibly.
That's my thing. It's not overnight.
Like it's just gonna take a while, but mostly we need to be vigilant. Remember how you feel right now and keep that same feeling, you know?
Yeah, and also I think I can't speak for nobody else, but I'll never forget how I felt after Trump won. A lot of people forgot. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, they forgot, or either they didn't care enough, or either they try to, you know, act all high and mighty like they didn't have no feelings and like that shit didn't impact them at all, but it did. Right. And also I think for a lot of black people, black and brown and marginalized people, we're always angry. We're always angry. We're always upset about the injustices that are done against us. So for us, we a lot of us are built for the longevity of the battle. But for a lot of people, they're not built for that longevity because for a lot of people, they've never had something to happen to them where it was a consistent fight all the time.
John says, good supreme bullshit. Good morning, Rod and Kara. Rod, not only do you have to respect the Republican determination to put 50 years towards overturning Roe, but you also got to remember they did that when it really did look like they would lose the whole game. For a long time, everything went against them. Had the GOP not had the Senate when Scalia died, giving them the opportunity to steal a SCOTUS seat, Hillary falling 70K votes short in 3 states, and RBG not died when she did, it's very possible that Roe would have been effectively protected for another generation at least. But Republicans were like the team losing by 30 and going into the fourth quarter that just kept jacking up threes, knowing that all we need to do is get hot/lucky. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know how to tell. I don't know how to say it any differently, but you have to. I wish there was a different, better word, but I really think this is the most accurate word. You got to respect what they did. I just the way they played that game, and it's a game involving our lives. The way they stuck to it and didn't just give up. And had a plan and voted through the plan, like, and dealt with a lot of bullshit on the way, by the way. You know, it's just something I don't think you see a lot of people on the other side willing to commit to. A lot. It's like, if I'm not getting my needs met today right away, I'm ready to go back home and let the other people have it.
Right. I was listening to The Daily and I stopped listening to it, but it was, I forgot the man's name, but it was a man who his whole thing was he had a lot to do with the Roe v. Wade. And they went through his history and why he felt like it and why he felt like he had to push to get this shit overturned. And he's an older man. And the thing about him was he said that he was like had graduated from college and he remembered listening to the radio when they played it and how hurt and how sad he was, how disappointed he was. And he remembered taking that blow. But he was like, oh, I'm going to do whatever I can to overturn this. And he was relentless. And it was one of these things where, like I said, because of the anger inside of me, I was like, oh, fuck him. I couldn't listen to the whole thing. But going back to the thing you said, yes. Just the way that we felt when they was like, it's going the other way. That's how they felt when the shit first got ruled. They were highly upset. They were very mad. They were very disappointed. And they were very sad. But they was like, okay, what's not going to happen? What they didn't do is the bullshit that a lot of our side does. Well, then I'm not going to vote. I fuck it and shit like that. Like, and it was one of those things where he was saying that he did have to deal with people coming against him even within his own party, which is understandable. But you know what a lot of them did eventually? A lot of them was like, well, okay, if you're not giving up, I'm not giving up. And they continue to fight.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, there's a lesson learned there. Mm-hmm. That EPA ruling by the Supreme Court is even worse than described. The conservatives' ridiculous logic is that any administrative agency like the EPA, OSHA, Department of Transportation has no power to do anything unless Congress specifically granted them in writing. So, like, assume that we find out tomorrow that cell phone batteries give people cancer. OSHA would be unable to put restrictions in the workplace because when OSHA was created, cell phones didn't exist. It would also require Congress to repeatedly pass and reauthorize just about anything that federal agencies do, something we know Republicans will refuse to do. So now we can expect them to start holding the government hostage over all sorts of regulations, much like they always do over raising the debt ceiling. This is going to be an absolute shit show. Yes. And like I said, I remember what it was after the show. Major questions doctrine is what they call that. And it's ridiculous. And they use it when they feel like it. On a lighter note, when you read the story about VR porn delivery in Las Vegas hotel, my first thought was of those Jimmy cabs from Total Recall driving them up to the room. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Cheers, John. Kate writes saying, hey, Rod and Karen, I noticed that you keep using the word cishet to refer to cisgendered women. I think it's great that you're trying to be inclusive in your language, but not all cisgender women are heterosexual. And cishet, the het is heterosexual. As a cisgender woman who is not heterosexual, I can assure you that is not always the case. Take care. Yeah, thank you, Kate, for the email. And this is one of the ones I was talking about where one is super ironic that it was in a time when I was explaining how people care more about the language than the intention now, and that I mean, it's just very ironic that the whole point of that I was making was like people get stuck on like, did you say it the right way instead of, oh, I know what you meant and whatnot. Now, obviously, I know the difference between heterosexual, cisgender, cishet, and whatnot. But at first, I was like, all right, cool, appreciate the clarification. But then I went back and thought about what we were talking about. I meant cishet. I didn't mean cisgendered women. I don't think Republicans are as obsessed with when the Republicans are talking about the abortion and the bodies they want to control. A lot of times what they're really saying is women who are in the vicinity of men and in romantic ways, your bodies are the ones that we want to make you do whatever. Because like, correct, they like, if a lesbian is not gonna have sex with a man and she ain't gonna, there's no way that she's gonna be pregnant, you know, through that type of interaction, I think they hate them in a different type of way. Right. But they still hate them. But they hate them in a different type of way. When they talk about reproduction, there's a very, and I don't even, what's funny, I don't even think they mean all cishet women. They really mean white cishet women. Mm-hmm. like they don't give a fuck about black people, Mexicans, any. They want, like, when that woman said white lives when she was talking at that Trump rally, she meant that shit.
Yes, she did.
So I think they really are like, we would like for cis het white women to have no choice but to have babies because we told them to, and we want the white birth rate to jump because of that.
Right, because they scared.
Yeah, we will take, like, we want these numbers to get up. So, like I said, I'm not saying I never will make a mistake or I didn't make a mistake. I'm sure we talked a long time in that conversation, and I could have misspoke at any point in time. If you know my heart, you know what I meant. No one else seemed to have any conflict or misunderstanding, so I think everybody understood what I was talking about. But in that particular moment that I remember speaking about, I meant what I said. Like, there's a specific, like, and that's one of the issues that's happening with the language, and why you see people. I was listening to this podcast, Ezra Klein's show, and it was called The F Word. The F Word was feminism. And he had this woman on who was talking about, she was like a Democrat / liberal person, but she was talking about like feminism and some of the good parts of it, some of the bad parts of, like, the ways that the movement has evolved and changed, and what it's meant for people, and the way that, you know, it's had a hard time growing after a certain point, because at some point it's, you know, there's a lot of infighting about what stuff means, and there's no real consideration of people if they fall on the outside of certain conversations and shit. But this one thing she brought up, and I'm not a woman, so I can't really say, but there's like specifically this divide that's happening, especially with women that are like 40 and over. I can see it with my friends even. That's very anecdotal, but I can only talk about the experience I have. But there's this movement where they want to be inclusive. So what's happening is that people are getting rid of the word woman in these conversations about abortion, about reproductive rights and stuff like that. But then the words that are used to replace woman aren't exactly definitive or inclusive as well. Like, for example, one of the words people will say is like birthing people. Well, not every woman wants to birth a person. Not every, not every woman has a capacity to birth a person.
Right.
And it makes it sound like you're reduced to body parts that are for literal reproduction, when that's not really autonomy to say that's what your body parts are for. And we don't really do that the other way, right? We don't, there's like, we try to be inclusive, but there's like, people don't, whenever there's like a thing that affects men, you don't go, oh, you mean penis havers? Like, no one does that. But for women, to be inclusive, people want to change a lot of this language, and we really just haven't figured out the language yet. I'm hopeful. I think there might even be a term that makes people go, with people who are traditionally have long been considered women, and everybody else as well. You know, some people use the term femmes, all this stuff, but there's no perfect term, is my point. Because when you say like femmes means people that consider, if you believe in the binary of feminine and masculine, now, which is another trouble thing. But you get into that thing where it's like, well, femmes also means gay men. It means sometimes people count trans men as femmes, trans women as femmes. Not everybody in that category is as affected by the Roe v. Wade ruling.
Right. So
it's just a lot, in as far as directly in their body. So yes, everyone's affected by it. But yeah, so my point being, we pontificate, we talk a lot, we talk for hours at a time. We're gonna make mistakes, but also some of this language isn't perfect yet. And honestly, the rules haven't fully been established. And we'll see culturally if the word women does become a thing of the past. And it's like, that's not how we refer to those people anymore. Or if it's really gonna be like, listen, we ain't came up with nothing better. This is a term that's gonna stick around. And it's also interesting because there's been a few cases of people taking the word women out completely, which does seem to me counterproductive.
Yeah, and it's one of the things where it's a battle, because there are women that says, I am a woman. I respect anybody that says that they're a woman, but I actually am talking about a specific woman issue. And I think when you go specific woman issue, people in these other groups feel excluded. They feel like, well, if you're talking about woman, you're not talking about me. And it's one of those things where you, like you say, it's a catch-22 because you want to be inclusive. Your purpose is not to exclude anybody.
Well, also, like, you might not be talking about that person. They might not fit the group, right? But at the same time, like, one of the things they said on that podcast that really stuck with me was the right seeks to convert people and the left hunts heretics, by which it means like the right, whether you agree with them or not, is always constantly trying to find more people. We've seen that extremely work in the last 6 years, but the last probably 8 years specifically. We've seen a lot of people go from like Obama to MAGA to and that's because right-wing people are always looking to get somebody. Whereas left-wing people, we're out to get somebody. We're looking for the bad actor. We're looking for the person that doesn't know. We're looking for the person that purposely fucked up. We want to make everyone accountable and apologize and ostracize. And, you know, and a lot of the groups that we have is assumptions of malice right away when you make a mistake. And it's very hard to get your numbers up when that's the case. So in these cases, it's hard to build a coalition when you're coming down on each other all the time. And I'm not saying the person that wrote this email was coming down. No. I just want to clarify. We're talking about something different now. But that I thought she made a good point in that podcast, because to me, the ACLU, when they tweeted out like abortion affects a lot of people, and they name a bunch of categories and don't put women.
Right.
That is kind of weird. I don't know why you couldn't say all the categories and women. It does feel like something's happening where people are so worried to upset the cart by saying something that's pretty obvious, because that is what the enemy is thinking. They're not thinking, yeah, we want to do this because we want to make trans men have babies. They're not thinking that. They're thinking about cishet women and how to control their bodies. And it's okay to admit that that's the target number one, even if that's not everybody that will be affected.
Right.
It's okay. Like, I don't know, but I think that's just a very theoretical online space that is having that argument. And even if you concede that you don't like that or whatever, it's still not the biggest problem at all. Like even if you don't like it and go, I want them to say women. Okay, well, they didn't say it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not. Are you not gonna support overturning this Roe v. Wade shit they just did, or not? I'm gonna support it. So if that, it means some people ain't gonna like each other, some people gonna want to change all the language and shit. It's just gonna have to be what it is.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a very complicated thing, because it's like nobody wants to be excluded. And women are like, we are part of the collective too. They're the other pieces, but we are also a piece of the pieces. So like you say, you can say women and name all these other groups around it too, to be inclusive. And it's one of those things, like a lot of, like I was saying before about how a lot of women, a lot of cishet women feel as though these other people have came into the group and they just trying to strip the woman out of this whole thing. And they're like, no, don't strip out woman. I'm a woman too. You need to include me in this collective.
Right.
Don't be so individual and so woke that you strip me out of the group, and I'm trying to be inclusive, and then you turn around and get mad at me for getting it wrong, when sometimes you guys are also excluding me out of the group when you talk about things around us, when we're all in this together.
The other thing too is when we talked about privilege, maybe then I said cis het when I meant cisgender or something like that. Could, like I said, we're talking for hours. It could totally be possible. I just misspoke a couple times. I think most people picked up what I was putting down.
Mhm.
So, but I appreciate the
Yeah,
email.
and I do appreciate that because it's one of those things to where uh different people have different life experiences, and that's a part of the collective too, is these different life experiences. I know for me, language matters, but what also matters is intent and what you mean behind the words you're saying. And for me, I'm supportive. So
I
it's
just think like everyone's so fucking worried about getting in trouble all the time.
right.
But it's not building us a coalition. It's making people be quiet. It's making people walk away. And especially when the penalty for misspeaking seems to be like either a reprimand or like, you know what I'm saying? Like a
Mhm.
correction. Everyone's not into that. And I don't like, I
Mm-mm.
don't say you shouldn't correct people or you shouldn't,
Right.
but like this idea that like, y'all need to accept, like when people get drugged on Twitter, they need to accept this so they can learn. It's like, well, most people don't learn that way.
No, they do
So
not.
when are we going to change our tactics and be like, we got to find a better way to educate people? Or, sometimes it'll happen on the podcast. We have a guest or we're a guest on someone's podcast. I hear them misspeak. I know what they mean. And I go, all right, like someone might pick that up. Someone might challenge that, but it ain't I'm not clocking in today. We'll see,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe we'll talk about it later or something. So I definitely, I've been the person to clock in. I've been the person to go, not today. I think that's a human thing. It's just
Right.
reading the moment.
Mm-hmm.
When is it going to work? But I don't think anything I said in the show would have been abjectly harmed by, when I'm speaking on privilege, cisgender or cishet. I think those are, in the terms of privilege in that moment, they're damn near interchangeable. You know what I mean? Like there's still a privilege there. I think it still worked. It reminds me of when that white lady came up to you after the Seattle panel,
Mm-hmm.
and you could tell she just wanted to correct a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like, you knew what Karen meant. It wasn't harmful.
Mm-hmm.
And you clearly seemed to be trying to like score some points or some
Mm-hmm.
weird shit. Like, I am also, just as you are black and can be offended, I am offended on behalf of my transgender child. And it's like, what just happened? Like
Yeah.
you're in the audience. We weren't talking about your child. We don't know your child.
Nope.
It was very general terms.
Mhm.
You only corrected Karen. Okay, it feels a little like, anyway.
Yeah, and it's one of the things too where everybody wants to be heard and
Yeah.
everybody wants to be included. But and it's one of those things where people have got to learn and understand of intent and how to talk to each other, because like I said, I think it's a coalition and you want numbers, and bashing people and pointing people and wagging your finger at people, you're actually running people off and then wondering why you don't have the numbers.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm not saying this email is doing any of that.
Oh no.
Because last time somebody wrote in, they got fucking super sensitive about the fact that I responded to the email, and I wasn't being mean to them, but I was like, hey, and then they wrote some like, letter the next time, like, how dare you fucking, it's like, hey man, this is the show. This is our opinion. You wrote in with a feedback show. We're gonna tell you what we thought,
Mhm.
But it made me think of that episode of that podcast, or as a client, that I thought was a really good listen, about language and how it's been hard to build a feminist movement, specifically as of late, because of some of the unforeseen consequences of language, some of the unforeseen consequences of, like, kind of coming after people for mistakes rather than
Mhm.
pulling them in, or having some understanding, letting people get there on their own time. But absolutely, I feel you. I have to go back and re-listen to see if if I truly just misspoke and meant to say cisgendered, because it's totally possible, because we were talking for so long. So I don't want to act like I don't make mistakes. Like, no, I make mistakes all the damn time. And appreciate you trying to pull my coat.
Yeah, and also I think for a lot of people, like you said, it shuts them down and it makes them be like, well, then I won't say anything, which is not helpful at all to anybody, in these particular situations. I know for me, for a very, very long time, when you say language and words and the association with words, I wouldn't call myself a feminist for a very long time because I was like, nope, don't want the word, don't want things associated with it. I want to be able to be seen as a individual, even though you describe everything around it and I support everything around. I'm like, yeah, 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 but no, don't call me that.
Kyle says, hi, Rod. I'm a long time listener and a huge fan. I'm curious what you think of this article. It's a Medium article called Team Evil versus Team Stupid, the State of American Politics. Is Team Stupid versus Team Evil an accurate description of American politics? Thanks for all your great work, especially the coronavirus news. I don't know about the new upcoming Moderna booster until I heard about it from you, so now I'm waiting on that. Thanks for keeping us informed. Keep up the great work, Kyle. Thanks, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to read some of this. It's only 3 minutes long, but I don't like it because it feels like that oversimplification that people do about Democrats and Republicans, where they make it seem like, well, they're both kind of shitty, right? And I think that's not true. I think the Democrats are far and beyond a better party than the Republican Party. I'm sorry. I wish American people, voters, would get their shit together and we had a fucking democracy that looks like what the fuck it looks like with the actual populace, where we got like, whenever we do these fucking polls and you see 60-70% on the right side of certain issues, but then you look at the fucking politicians and it's 48-52 and you're like, what the fuck happened? And not the good way, by the way, 48-52 the other way. So yeah, I'm not trying to say Democrats are perfect, but this idea that like they're just stupid, they don't know what they're doing, the other team, they just they know. It's like, yeah, I think Democrats do know what they're doing. I think American people don't have any fucking spine. Like sometimes I just think about how, because I read all these fucking books sometimes. I just think about how we had a civil war, man.
We sure did. People act like
we had
didn't.
A civil fucking war, and even the Civil War couldn't shake us out of white supremacy for 8 years. Like less than 8 years, they were back to like fucking burning down black towns and running the black politicians out of town. Mm-hmm. 8 years. And I guess the anger I have is, for the most part, and I try to keep it inside, I try not to put it on nobody, but I'm just so constantly angry and disappointed in just how much white people will tolerate this shit. It's just so fucking annoying. Like, that is the main problem with America, is like, even your good white people feel a need to tolerate the badness of other white people. It's that we are not in this fight equally yoked and together. We're in this fight with people that turn around and go home because they don't like Hillary Clinton enough.
Right.
That, you know what I'm saying? That gamble with my fucking life because they like Bernie Sanders a lot, or because they didn't think they thought Trump was funny and shit. And I'm like, this is my country. The change I've had in my attitude is not one of giving in. It's not one of nihilism. I'm gonna fight till the day I die, but it's the illusion. So many people that claim to be liberal and anti-capitalist and all this shit, they have an illusion about America I do not share. That America is its highest ideals and capable of achieving them. I do not believe that. The default setting of America is this bullshit.
Right.
We're gonna be dealing with this bullshit more than not. And we really got complacent because we thought, oh, we elected a black guy and it'll be all right, and he had 90 days of a supermajority. So that 90 days is supposed to undo 200 years of other shit. And every other year after that to come, he was supposed to be undone and foreseen. Like, that's the shit we're dealing with. So I think that's why I'm so pessimistic about some of the stuff, where it's just like, realistic. I don't even call it pessimistic. And until America proved me wrong, I'm not even gonna sit up here and act like the politicians led us astray. No, nigga, it was us being complacent and cool with just a little bit. Yeah, it's just a little bit of progress. That's all, that's cool. All right, cool. Well, if we can't get that, then we'll just take nothing. We'll go back. Nah, we cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that, like, we don't think it'll get worse than this. It's not even just a little bit of progress. It's we don't think it'll get worse. That's what's bothering me.
Yeah, and particularly knowing that my ancestors went through slavery, it's like, well, bitch, it can. I've always been like, it can always get worse.
But it's just this general idea of like, but we had said, that's when you look at people, and I'm tired of them being shocked. They the ones that shocked, not me.
Right.
I'm not shocked at what's happening right now. I said this would happen. So I'm not shocked. I'm just angry that people that didn't know what the fuck they were talking about haven't taken the clue. Like, maybe it's time to shut the fuck up and listen to some other people for a change. Nah, they still somewhere saying how this was like they were right, and I don't know how they're getting there. This person said they don't want their name said. Hi, Rad and Karen. My email today as a sponsor of the last feedback show and talking points about votes and election. Well, I decided to volunteer as an election judge for the Illinois primaries at the end of June. Election judges are desperately needed as a typically old generation are dying off and are scared to volunteer because of COVID. I do not live in Chicago, but in an adjacent county to Cook County. This county has a major Republican bias, I guess, or majority Republican based. Okay. I wanted to share a few things I observed here and some things you touched on this episode. These repubes, they definitely stick together and show up and show out. They believe in voter ID in Illinois. It isn't required to show ID. All a voter has to do is verify date of birth and address. But a lot of the repubes announced to me as I was checking them in that they believed in voter ID. I, being the neutral, impartial negress, would politely say, sir, ma'am, it's not required, but I will use your ID for verification. Slow blinks them. Those Mayo sapiens stick together and come out to vote no matter what. I even had an old broken up biddy that could barely walk when I checked in. Miss Battle Axe was crying dry tears because she couldn't find a closer parking spot to the building. In the same breath that she was crying and catching her breath, she curses the Democrats when I asked her which party ballot she wanted, saying the Democrats are doing a good job. I want the Republican ballot. I was like, ma'am, the healthcare you are getting to go to physical therapy after you vote, she told us she was going, it's probably because of Obamacare.
Right.
When asking each voter which party ballot they wanted, Republicans were loud and proud, not hesitating, but surprising when they hesitated as if they couldn't decide. They chose Democratic. I saw the mental gymnastics going on in their head in the 5 seconds it took them to respond. They were always very quiet, as if they didn't want anyone to know, or as if they were ashamed, shaking my head. I saw so many young white women voting Republican. I even had a young pregnant white woman voting Republican. I wanted to shake my head, but I had to stay neutral. Anyways, just a few observations. To say Dems are lazy, and it shows because they don't vote in primaries. The primaries matter. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. We'll see. And God, I hope my hope isn't misplaced. Please, Lord Jesus, don't let this be a false flag. But I'm a bit optimistic because in my city, turnout for our primary, which was delayed by 6 or 7 months. So we just voted in our primary like 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. It was the highest it's ever been. And that was an off-cycle primary midterm. Yeah. I would be interested to see if someone's tracking those numbers. Right. Because I have a theory that and I hope it doesn't sound crazy, but I think we'll see if the data backs this up. I have a theory that social media is preaching pessimism. The cable news is preaching pessimism, and a lot of like they hate Biden, the approval numbers and shit. And I have a feeling that people in real life understand we're on the razor's edge, and they're not tweeting, they're not arguing with people on Twitter about it. They don't give a fuck what the news says. They see the sky falling and they're going to vote.
And they're scared.
And I hope I really do hope that is true. Because
Same.
the numbers, it doesn't make sense for our numbers to jump up like they did here. Now, look, it could be because our city is a liberal city and we have early voting, blah, blah, blah. Like it's not hard for us to vote. So that may have something to do with the turnout. But generally, even when it's been easy for us to vote, it's an off cycle primary. You know what I'm saying? Like it delayed.
The main ones.
It should have been low. It should not that I would have been,
but people were
mad. But
shit.
If you would have said like, the turnout was a lot lower this year, because of all the things that happened. It's COVID. It's this. It's that. I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. But to find out was the highest ever was a little like, Anyway, I hope we're not alone. Maybe it's just my city, and I'll find out like, no, nigga, that's just Charlotte. But yeah, I also encourage more people to get involved in the election process. It's very exciting and rewarding. I plan to participate in November for the general election. Hope this makes it as I wrote this, as the week's feedback show is in progress. Excuse my typos. It's all good. Thank you. Thanks. You know who I am. Chat room, stand up. All right, chat room, stand up. That was it for the emails. We did get something in the mail.
Want me to get it?
I'll get it. But make sure you don't say anything of vamp or anything to give me time to go get it.
Oh, no problem. Are you trying to say that
anyway,
I should be talking during this period of time
in the
while
mail?
you was over there reaching for the other thing?
Now just talk over me. Now that I'm already back and ready to do it. Preston, Slang of Ages podcast, sent us a couple gifts in the mail. Now look, when we're guests on your podcast, you don't have to send us gifts in the mail, but we will accept them. So we got Ron and Karen, thank you for your wonderful appearance on Slang of Ages podcast. Enjoy your gift. Cheers, Preston. Thanks, Preston. And we got Body Restore Calm Bedtime Shower Steamers. So you can smell them through the bag.
Suppose you put it in the shower while you're bathing.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I'm
gonna read the instructions on this one. I'm not gonna throw it away like I did for the can opener.
And mug stackers, save space. Stack your mugs, cups, and glasses so you can stack your mugs and stuff on top of each other.
Oh shit.
All right, that's it. Thank you for listening. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. on Sunday, if you listen to the sound of my voice and you want to see it live, I guess if you're late, like some of y'all be late listening to these episodes, maybe you'll find out later in the week and you watch it on YouTube or something. But Janelle James is going to be our guest.
Yay!
Yeah, you may know her as a friend of the show, stand-up comedian, actress, and future Emmy award-winning actress for her role as Ava, the principal on Abbott Elementary. But yeah, she coming through tomorrow, man. We're really looking forward to that. That's huge. So tell your friends. 2 p.m. tomorrow. I'll probably get in here, play some music about 1:30, invite her on screen, and then we're probably just gonna kick it and ask her all about, what's it been like being a star. Okay.
Right. A superstar.
What's she doing slumming with us niggas? Like,
right? I can't even believe she agreed to come back.
So thank you. We'll talk to y'all soon. Until then, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.